in the last 3 weeks, the needle hasn't moved. If Disney allocated about $100 million, which is probably somewhere in the reasonable vicinity of reality here, the bulk of the marketing spend has happened in the last 2 weeks so far, and it's done nothing. This is what I want to talk about, Tron Ares. Now, look, if you're a fan of the Tron IP, okay? And again, it came out in the early 80s. I was probably like, I don't remember when that movie came out. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old. I remember watching it with my dad when I was a little older because I was too young to remember it when it came out. I'm 99% sure I didn't see it in the theater. But if you're a fan of the Tron IP, go ahead and throw a little Tron in the chat there, guys. I'm curious to see. Now, I'm not asking you if you plan to see the new one. I'm not asking you if you think that the new one will be good or if Disney will screw it up. Just let me know if you liked the original Tron or even Tron Legacy from a few years ago. And yes, I see people popping in the Trons in there. I liked it too. I mean, that was some great 80s nostalgia. You know, it's not a movie that probably survives well till today, just because the effects, obviously, and some of the special effects in there they don't carry on that long. But it's still a fun movie, especially for us Gen Xers. So I got a soft spot for it, and I did like Tron Legacy. I thought that was a lot of fun too. Now, Tron Ares, honestly, I don't know much about. The reviews seem middling at best if you believe what's on Rotten Tomatoes. Sometimes they seem to be on the money with the critics. Sometimes they're way off, and we don't need to rehash that conversation. However, what I want to call to your attention is this article here. This was from September 18th, and you guys are valiant. You're pulling up an article from like 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I know. It's a reference point. This is the last numbers that we had. We talked about this. Tron Ares light cycles onto tracking with a $44 million U.S. opening projection. This from Anthony D'Alessandro at Deadline Magazine back on 18 September 2025. Now, we don't need to reread the article, not that big a deal. I just want to set you up for what the expectations were. Now, we need to go over here to the new one. This is from just a few moments ago. In fact, this article came out right about an hour before we began the show. I was waiting all day to see. I was surprised. It was Wednesday midday, and I didn't have my D'Alessandro article on the weekend preview for Tron yet. I was like, come on, man. So Anthony finally, solid dude, got it out here. So let's go through it. Tron Ares hopes to pop a wheelie at weekend box office with an 80 to 90 million global. Ooh, wait a minute. Hang on. 44 million was the domestic projection 3 weeks ago. 80 to 90 million global today. That's not really good. It's been a while since we've had a full-bloodied bloodied? I wonder if he didn't mean full-bodied Hollywood tentpole, but a full-bloodied. That's okay. It's been a while since we've had a full-bloodied Hollywood tentpole at the fall box office, and the hope is that Disney's Tron Ares is exactly that, with an 80 to 90 million worldwide start. ComScore reports the current fall box office post-Labor Day through Sunday tallies at $673.8 million, which is, that's really an astonishing figure, and a lot of that has to do with things like Demon Slayer and The Conjuring and some of these movies that have come out that have really radically overperformed. And since we didn't really get through a full, thorough box office review on Sunday because I was in a park, bro, we're going to go through it tonight. That's up $10.8 million from the same frame last year in 2024. While that's solid news, particularly when compared against last autumn, which was dominated by the success of Beetlejuice, the hits we've had stateside so far have been ones catering to a niche audience. Demon Slayer, Da-da. And then, of course, we had Taylor Swift this past weekend with another concert at AMC Theaters. And look, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. Obviously, we've talked about this before, but I really appreciate the fact that Taylor's management team is doing this with theaters. I think it's great. It's great for the box office. It's great for theatrical exhibition. The people watching the show are not Taylor Swift fans, but I want everybody to at least appreciate the fact that there are a lot of Taylor Swift fans out there, and they spend a lot of money when these things go to the box office, okay? And that's good for us because the healthier that theaters are, the longer they're going to hang around, the better they're going to get. So then when we get movies that we want to see, the theaters will be in a financial position to give us the best exhibition possible, okay? So I want everybody to do well at the theater, even if it's crap I don't like. But if you look here, I want the breakdown. Let's get the breakdown of Tron Ares. Currently, studio NRG tracking and advanced ticket sales point towards a 40 to 45 million domestic opening for Tron. Does anybody else out there already recognize the problem here? Remember, this was published today. This was published today, an hour ago. Tron comes out tomorrow with Thursday previews, right? Yeah, it went from 40. It basically went from, they pegged it at 44 million a few weeks ago, September 18th, and now they have it in a range of 40 to 45, which of course 44 million is in. Let's go back to this other article here, the one I started with, and I started with this for a reason. Again, 18 September, 3 weeks ago, Tron Ares tracking 44 million. What had Disney not done yet 3 weeks ago? Marketing. The marketing machine for this movie, as with any movie out there, 3 weeks out is really not in high gear yet, right? If a movie spends $100 million, or let's say not spends, let me be more specific with my financial language here. If a distributor has predetermined that they're going to allocate $100 million towards the marketing of a film in their distribution wing, the bulk of that spend, right, in terms of condensing into a shortened period of time, is going to happen within the week to 2 weeks before the movie comes out. This was back on September 18th. So what I'm getting at here, guys and girls watching, is that what Deadline is saying is in the last 3 weeks, the needle hasn't moved. If Disney allocated about $100 million, which is probably somewhere in the reasonable vicinity of reality here, if Disney actually allocated about $100 million towards the marketing of this film, then the largest single chunk of that, if we broke up the marketing timeline in 2-week periods on back to when they started marketing this film, which would include making trailers and stuff like that, the bulk of the marketing spend has happened in the last 2 weeks so far. And it's done nothing. It's not moved the needle on this film at all. At least according to Deadline's own internal tracking data. Now, the movie could come out and do 20 million domestically for all I know. It could do 80. I kind of doubt it. Probably Disney has dumped maybe 30 to 40 million dollars into marketing this film, and it hasn't added a single dime to the box office opening projection, according to Deadline. That sucks. I mean, I wouldn't be real happy about that. Now, not every movie comes with a $100 million marketing budget, and some movies kind of have a built-in ceiling to begin with. You know, we always talk about things that are specific, like the horror genre. Now, sometimes horror movies can radically overperform and surprise the hell out of us, but, you know, more often than not, certain genres like that have a more limited audience, and studios know this, which is why they don't spend a ton of money producing and marketing horror movies. But this is a big budget sci-fi, you know, big classic Disney IP. I don't think we have any specifics in terms of what the spend on this film's production was, but you can rest assured, being Disney, we're probably talking about somewhere in the $200 million range. Okay? Yeah, this isn't good news. I mean, a $90 million global opening on a movie that they may have spent twice that much on is not boding well. And again, because it's Disney, there's really not a whole lot of real cash flow revenue to come post theatrical because Disney, again, consumes all of its own product. They're not going to license this out to Amazon Prime or Netflix for streaming. They're going to dump it on Disney Plus or Who right? And that's going to be the end of it, which they will make some ad revenue on, but probably not a whole bunch. And maybe it winds up being a streaming monster. Who knows? It's possible, but that's not really a good sign that this is. And I had my concerns about this movie. If this is opening at 90 million global, if we look at what most Disney movies or movies like this tend to do, they'll finish up between a 2.5 and 3x. Which means that this movie will probably not do, I would say 300 million globally may be kind of the top end for this movie. Unless the critics are, once again, completely wrong and this movie is a huge crowd pleaser and people go back again and again because there's a dearth of content at the box office for the next few weeks, right? And there's not going to be much competition, in other words, right? But this thing is going to have IMAX. It's going to have all the PLFs. Basically, I mean, Tron Ares has every advantage working for it right now. Like every advantage. No competition. All the PLFs, everything is working in this movie's favor, but it seems that the last 2 weeks, the bulk of the marketing push that Disney has done, it hasn't done a thing. In other words, the audience that was already planning to see this movie because it's Tron, and I'd almost bet you that when we find out Saturday morning, if Deadline does their usual reporting with intelligence, that we'll see that the audience is probably going to be more older skewing than a lot of other films just because it's Tron. And if there's not a lot of interest with the younger audiences, this movie's going to hit a ceiling probably pretty quick. I may wind up being wrong, but right now, my gut instinct is telling me that this is not shaping up to be much of a fairy tale ending for Disney. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.